Thank you. Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to this. It's great to see. I've only just arrived today, but to see what was happening online and the workshops and the portfolio reviews, it looks great. So I'll be talking about our initiative, the Unpublished Picturebook Showcase. I'll be talking about the behind-the-scenes story of this book here, which some of you may know, published in Greece by Martis Books. And I'll be giving you some insights from publishers of what they like to see with projects. And yes, but first I'll give you a bit of a background, just very quickly, on what we do. So I've had a huge passion for picture books since I was a student at the Cambridge School of Art about 20 years ago. I studied illustration, and we set a project to make a picture book, and it totally ignited my passion. And I fell in love with the whole process, from the idea creation to plotting the story to character design, and I've been obsessed with picture books ever since. And the type of picture books that interest me the most are multi-layered, and I don't necessarily think of them as being for children, but for people of any age who the books touch, who the books connect to. And there's a quote by a Portuguese publisher called Planeta Tangerina, where they say, books should be created, or picture books should be created freely and thrown into the air, and whoever catches them and enjoys them is the right reader, which I really love this. So this was my final project at college. It was published in Greek, actually, 16 years ago. I don't know, does anyone recognise the book? Ah, nice. How old is your son now, by the way? 18, okay. Does he still love the book? That's nice. So this was my final project at college, and then I received a publishing deal for this book. And then I started working full-time as a book illustrator and author, and on other illustration commissions as well. So that's one of the spreads from the book. And then this was my second picture book, which actually, in the end, sparked the idea for the whole dPICTUS project and what I'm doing now. I took a big diversion because the publication of this book was postponed because the publisher couldn't secure any co-editions. I don't know, maybe some of you know about it or not, but the printing costs are shared amongst a group of publishers from different countries, and to make the costs work. And they didn't manage to secure, they took it to a book fair to present it, and they didn't secure any co-editions. So they put it on hold, and I was kind of, I need to help. I wanted to help. This book had taken a long time, and I didn't want it to be shelved. And I thought, I was out running, and I had an idea of a kind of password-protected page just for this book, where foreign publishers could log in and look at the book in full and potentially buy the rights for it, so to keep the book from being shelved. And then we built this page. Me and my brother is a web developer, and he built this page with me quite quickly. And we started to see a lot of potential of the idea of publishers and agents putting their catalogues online outside of book fairs. I don't know if any of you have been to Bologna, but it's a kind of 4-day, pitching, and it's quite intense. And a lot of, one publisher said that the long toilet queues could be the difference between a book being sold or not, because you leave a meeting early and you have all these books to pitch. So the idea that we thought, if publishers could put their catalogues online all through the year, then it would complement their book fair activities, and more books would get seen, basically. So in a very short time, the idea of a web page for one book, my book, kind of developed into this platform for the whole picture book community, really. And this is just a little video just to show you what it's like. So we have picture books from over 50 countries now. It's been going about 10 years. We grew very slowly to keep the quality high. The most important thing to us was to keep the quality of the books very, very high, because we realised if the quality drops and you're wading through thousands of low quality kind of mass market books, then the appeal is gone. So we worked very hard over the years to have it semi-curated. Once the publishers are in, they can upload the books they want, but it's invitation only. I invited publishers that I found in Bologna and loved, and then at a certain point we let them invite their friends, and that's how the quality stayed high. It's a balance. It's a difficult balance to grow a business and a platform, but keep this quality. So I think we're still managing to do it. It's going okay. And alongside the platform, we have various other initiatives, all in the service of promoting great picture books and illustration. This is a picture book maker's blog, which we started, which maybe some of you have seen. And this inspired this book, which is down there, which was published last year. But it's all in the service, what we do, of print picture books and getting them into other markets and other languages. So this is the Frankfurt Book Fair just before COVID, actually, the year before COVID. And we worked with a series of picture book experts, curators, historians, and let them onto the platform to pick their favourite picture books. And they vote for their favourites, and then their favourites go into these showcases, physical showcases at book fairs. And this was in Bologna this year, so we had various different showcases, and we had a special showcase for Ukrainian picture books to honour our friends and colleagues that couldn't come to the fair, obviously. And it was a book fair showcase that launched this Unpublished Picturebook Showcase, which I'm talking to you about today. So we wanted to show unpublished projects, and we didn't want it to be a competition. We wanted it to be very inclusive. So we did a call out for submissions for international, all countries were welcome to apply, to submit their unpublished picture book projects, and then we invited a very large jury of publishers. The first year there was 30 publishers from different countries to assess the projects, vote for their favourites, and the best of the selection went into the physical showcase in Frankfurt. And this is some of the publishers on the jury. So each year, this is the 4th edition now, and each year it's grown. The first year we had 30 publishers, and then 48, and then 55 last time, I think it was. And here are some of the dummy books. It's really pretty fascinating to see all the graphical approaches and story ideas from so many different countries. We had submissions from about 60 countries, I think. So it's some themes are very common, like climate change is very current, and in the COVID situation there were a lot of stories obviously inspired by people being in that, but then there are some very cultural specific stories as well, which is really interesting. So yeah, we had a really great response at the first edition. We had a lot of artists actually that were selected came from as far away as Korea and Argentina. We weren't quite expecting it, but it was a really great experience. They made friends with each other and networked with publishers, and it was really wonderful. So this was the kick-off, and we're growing it through there. And we also talked to the illustrators about their work and gave them feedback. And this is the dummy book, which eventually became this book over here, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about later. So we had the launch of it at the book fair, but then COVID came, and we still wanted to run it, and we obviously couldn't have a physical showcase at the book fairs. So we moved it onto the platform, onto the dPICTUS platform, which already had a big network of publishers to look at the project. So actually, it made perfect sense, really. We designed this platform to complement book fairs. The book fairs were cancelled, so we could provide a service for publishers and illustrators. And we launched a series of videos with the publishers talking about what the projects they liked and which projects appealed to them and why, and that was really great to see. And then the book fair started up again. This was back in Bologna in March, and it was really, after 2 years of being separated and working in our bubbles, to come back and get together and talk about books again, it was really special. And again, a lot of artists that were selected came to the fair. Oh. And we arranged a series of networking sessions with the publishers from the jury and the selected artists. And it was often in book fairs you have these kind of portfolio reviews with publishers that they literally give 5 minutes. You have a long queue of illustrators, and we didn't really want that because that can be very demeaning if it doesn't go quite well. So we had a sit round with with three illustrators and a publisher on the table, and then they would talk about their projects and move to the next one. And it was really, it was really great, especially after the... And this is Yanis and Anna from Martis here in Athens, who took part in the jury and the networking sessions as well. So these are some of the publishers on the jury. I'll just read a few of their general comments about the work that they saw, which you may be able to think about and apply to your own books if you're doing books. So the publishers said they chose projects based on a number of different aspects: the subject, the development of the idea, the story, obviously, and of the quality of the graphic work. Some publishers commented that they chose projects which felt genuine, which was surprising in some way, and showed a real understanding of the genre. Several publishers said they found it very touching to see so many different stories from so many different cultures. And a few publishers said they thought they were very interesting projects with a lot of potential, but the endings of the stories didn't quite work. The story endings are kind of the most difficult thing to get right. A publisher thought that quite a lot of the projects were more about state of mind and introspection and not so much about storytelling. To him and to most publishers, actually, the story or the idea of the book is the most important thing, almost more important than technical ability. It has to have a solid story. It has to have depth in it. Otherwise, to have it visually appealing isn't really enough in a book. And just one more. Yes, a lot of the publishers made the point that their choices weren't based on what they could or would publish in their markets, but on stories that interested them personally. I mean, that's quite important because they have their loves and what touches them, but they also have to consider the market. It's a commercial business, so it's some of the books did very, very well, but didn't receive offers from the publishers that voted for them. I mean, that's just the way it goes, but they personally loved the projects. And here's some of the projects which have since gone on to be acquired, which makes me very happy to see this, obviously, because it's what the whole idea was all about, to get book projects under the eyes of publishers and to get them taken on. And I'm hearing every couple of weeks an illustrator from the previous edition will write and say, "Oh, I've just had it picked up," and it's really fantastic. So this is one of the big success stories. This is Flooded. How do you pronounce it in Greek? Yeah. This is in 15 languages or something crazy like that now. And this is a debut picture book, so this is quite incredible for this illustrator, Maria Estrajo from Spain. She actually studied on the same course as I did, years later, where she worked on this project and developed this project. If any of you are thinking of studying abroad, illustration, or children's book illustration in particular, I would really recommend this. Is the Masters in Children's Book Illustration at Cambridge School of Art. It's I think the track record of published more graduates are published than not since the course has been launched, which is incredible, really. So this, if anyone would like to come up afterwards and have a look at this, if they haven't seen it already, you're welcome to. The publishers on the jury really loved the humour and the charm and the story. It's a solid story. It has a climate change theme, but it's very delicately handled. She's a great illustrator, and she's on her third picture book now, I think, since doing this one. This is another project with a climate change theme, but very, very different. It's very visceral and very direct, very poetic. It's a work of 400 plus pages. I mean, it's for a picture book. This is really, really incredible. And the publisher, it's an Italian publisher called Orecchio Acerbo, and they're trying to put. I talked about co-editions earlier with my book. For this project, it's such a huge project. They can't do it without a lot of other publishers coming on board to share the costs. So that's in progress at the moment. They're trying to put together a group. But it's a love letter to the planet. It's an artist who's very, very worried about the future, and she writes a love letter to the past, to the present, and the future of the planet, talking about life becoming death and death becoming life, and things evolving always. very beautiful, very challenging. I take my hat off to her. It's a huge project. So this is called People's Animals. This received the highest number of votes from the publishers on the jury of last year's edition of the showcase. It's a really, really clever idea and really, really well executed. So it's inspired by vintage wall charts that used to get in schools. So each spread is a different animal, which is separated into sections, showing the different ways that we as humans view these animals. So this kind of complex relationship where animals can be a companion, can be food, can be this, can be that. It's very, very well done. And it's been acquired by the same publisher that acquired the previous project, Stardust. And I think it's been sold into several languages. I don't know how many, but it's a really, really great project. So this is by an Argentinian. I should say that this is by Joko Hulligers from the Netherlands. This is by Joaquin Camp from Argentina. He's done really well in the showcase. I think he's had 3 or 4 projects selected by the publishers. And he's really, in several of his books, he uses the pages of the book as a stage. I mean, he has the same composition and lets the drama unfold. It's very, very humorous. And this is, one of the publishers said this is one of the best books she's seen that explains one sense with another sense, in this case the musical language, explaining that with the visual one, so we understand what's being heard by the visual. It's very funny. And this is great too. I think, and all of his projects actually have been acquired since being in the showcase. This is another one where he uses the picture book as a stage, and it's a simple idea, but it's. One of the publishers said it makes the most of the idea. You know, this balanced world, this balanced life, and what's heavy, and often to take a simple idea and to take it to the furthest point, to take it to its farthest point and to really explore that idea. I mean, that's some of the best picture books are like this. You don't have to be, it's not that, the ideas are everywhere, you can find the idea and just really explore it and have fun with it. This is a young illustrator who's also done really well. She's had about 3 or 4 projects acquired. She's still at college, actually, so she's got a great career ahead of her, I would say. Her name's Nina Nuret from Belgium. This project's called Red Flag, which is about an unusual race through woodland, meadows and fields where the wildlife inhabitants trying to sabotage the contest. It's kind of like a wacky race, as if anyone's seen that cartoon. And she said the idea came from an inner contradiction between a love of drawing vehicles and her environmental values, so it's this kind of inspired this project. And this was inspired by COVID, actually, this one. It's called Wild Invaders. And she was imagining all these public spaces that suddenly became empty, and she imagined what could happen there, what would happen if the animals moved in, or so she imagined a playground where the wildlife inhabitants move in, and obviously then the people want to drive them out again afterwards. This is an Italian illustrator called Laura Simonati, who's also had several projects selected for the showcase, and also this has been acquired now by a Belgian publisher. It's called Mariadel. It's a true story about a woman in Austria in the 18th century who was very, very tall, and she got taken away to the circus. And obviously true stories is another avenue to explore with coming up with story ideas. You can never run out of story ideas with so many amazing true stories out there to reinterpret and to. The publishers loved the graphical treatment of the pages, and she's incredibly talented. This is called Wild-Born Citizens. This is another non-fiction book about how people and nature live together in cities around the world, which is also a really great idea for a picture book. And she's a Russian illustrator called Olga Patashnik, and she's had to leave the country, obviously because of the situation. Is very uncertain about her future as an illustrator, but wish her the best of luck. This received the highest number of votes in the second edition. It's called Night Museum, and it's about an art gallery where the paintings and the sculptures come to life at night when everyone's asleep. And again, the graphical treatment and the dramatic compositions really appealed to the publishers. They really, really loved this project. Very strong. This is called The Nothing, which is about a town where a strange melancholy descends on this town like a virus. I guess another COVID-inspired story. But the publishers really loved the unsettling atmosphere, almost like Twin Peaks or something, you know, which is quite uncommon in picture books. But the publishers really loved this darkness. Another quite dark book, but it's very, very beautiful. It's called Night by Maria Chiara Di Giorgio. How's that? Is that a good, Valeria, is that a good pronunciation? I'm not very good with the pronunciations of the names, but this is a really great example of how you can make something very, very powerful with just a pencil. You know, she created this amazing atmosphere, and it's filmic, it's dramatic, it's eerie, it's beautiful, it's an incredible project. And this is unfinished. It's been acquired, but she's she has a baby, and she needs to dive into this project. But it's happening. But I don't know when, but it's happening. And this is totally different, but it's equally as popular with the jury. It's called What's That? And it's a guessing game for young children. And it's self-explanatory. It's like animals with a drape of cloth over them. But it's very funny, and for young readers, this is strong. And again, one of the publishers said that simplicity is the key to reach the furthest aim, which is to spark curiosity, which this project does very, very well. And so this is probably the biggest success story of the showcase. It was Johanna submitted this to the first Unpublished Picturebook Showcase, and I don't know. It was acquired, and it was published in 9 languages initially, but I think it's been sold into more since then. There's obviously the Greek one down there, which I think it's doing very well. I think it's third printing or something like that. I think we'll have to check, but it's doing extremely well. It's received a lot of awards and really great reviews. And if any of you haven't seen the book, I'm sure many of you have, but it's a travel through time where you start in the distant past, and then you travel towards the present, which is this moment here in the middle of the book, and then it goes off into the future asking questions. And as you can see, the pages change shape and size. They get smaller as they go into the middle, into the present, and then get larger again, like an hourglass, kind of. Which was obviously I was talking about printing and production costs. This was obviously a huge challenge. A lot of printers turned the project down because it would be too difficult for them. So the publisher had a lot of, I think, 4 or 5 different dummy books made up by the printer of how it would be, and it happened in the end. But as you'll hear when I tell the story, it was very uncertain whether this project could ever get off the ground because of the technicality of a production like this. It's very difficult. So how am I doing for time? Because I was going to read through and then talk about, it's still good. Okay. So I'll go through it and read it to you. Once upon a time there was and will be so much more, by Johanna Schaible, for the adults of today and the children of yesterday. Billions of years ago, land took shape. Millions of years ago, dinosaurs lived on Earth. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, people moved from place to place. Thousands of years ago, people built some very large things. 100 years ago, a journey took a long time. 10 years ago, the landscape looked different. A year ago, the birds flew south. A month ago, it was still autumn. A week ago, there was a lot going on in the city. Yesterday, the weather was stormy. An hour ago, the sun set. A minute ago, the light was turned off. Now, make a wish. What time will you get up in the morning? Where will you be in the afternoon? What will you do tomorrow evening? What will the weekend bring? Who will you meet next month? How will you celebrate your birthday next year? Where will you live in 10 years' time? What will you discover when you're grown up? What will impress you forever? Will you have children one day? What will you look back on when you're old? What do you wish for the future? So I'll tell you the story of the success of the book, or the creation of the success of the book. It started in Bologna Club in Switzerland, which is a support group set up for illustrators to help them with their projects and to have networking opportunities and advice and critiques from other illustrators. So she was a member of the first edition of this in 2018, and she was working on several ideas. She didn't want to create a conventional book. She was really inspired by concept books and wanted to explore that. She didn't especially want to have a main character. But she had several ideas, and one of those ideas was a zoom in from outer space into one child in their bedroom, and the other idea was time. And when she combined these two ideas, it was the turning point, and she flew with the project from there. So to start with, she made these little sketches, she calls them, but they look pretty finished to me. But she works with painting and collage and cutting out, and it's she finds it a very direct and quick way to see the atmosphere of an image. She can find out very quickly what's working and what's not. So she does this to start with. And then she made a lot of, they're really incredible, they look big there, but the smallest one is like this, these little dummy books where she explores the page turns, which is so important. And they're beautiful, these little books. So she made a series of those to explore the idea and just stitched and glued them together. But obviously, alongside this and the development of an idea and a travel through time, she was thinking about the feasibility of the idea. She realised that it would be a production challenge, so she made these more precise books with, she had all the measurements in her. She said this was the most important page in her notebook because it had all the measurements and 1 centimetre wrong here and there, and then it all goes wrong. So she was, she had it in her mind, but despite this, she was told it again and again it's going to be very difficult to find a publisher that's going to take the economic risk and also the risk of it not selling. It's a huge amount of money up front to print this. But she carried on, and she to make the measurements correct, she had a series of templates that she lay over the images until the very end, so she could make sure she was getting the composition and the feel of the images right, but also sticking with because you can see each image has to be this shape because they obviously get smaller and reveal the page behind. So it's a very unique way of working, of course. So at a certain point, she had some finished pictures and some that were still in sketch form. She took it to Bologna Children's Book Fair, I think it was 2019, and saw some publishers and had some interest, but again, she was told that we love it, but it's just going to be too expensive to produce such a thing. And she kind of lost faith in the project at that point and just thought, it's great, but I can't do it, and put it in a drawer and moved on to something else. She works in a lot of different areas and exhibitions and art projects, so she had a lot of other projects on the go as well. So she forgot about it. She shelved this one, she put it in a drawer. And then a few months later, she saw the open call for the first Unpublished Picturebook Showcase, and she didn't expect much to happen, but she just, what the hell, she entered it, and it caught, I think there were 30 publishers on the jury and 23 publishers voted for it, and there was a huge amount of buzz around it, so it was for her kind of incredible because she'd shown a lot of publishers, but she hadn't had any interest, well, any offers at least at that point. She'd had a lot of interest, but with 23 of the publishers voting and then the subsequent showcase in Frankfurt, a lot of publishers started to approach her. So she was then in this amazing position of being able to choose which publisher to go with and to go that path, because that's a difficult one too. It's not all about the most amount of money, the biggest advance. It's about the trust, and do you trust this publisher to look after the baby that you're sharing? You know, it's a very personal thing. And she decided to go with a Swedish publisher called Lilla Förlaget, who obviously, like a lot of publishers, believed in the idea, but they really hit it off. Johanna and Eric Titterson, his name is, who realised obviously he had to orchestrate a large co-edition to make the cost of this production work, which was another challenge, of course. But Johanna hadn't finished the book yet, so she, you know, with the wind in her sails, she went back into her studio and finished the project. And I was very honoured to be able to work on the graphic design of the book, actually, because I know Eric, and you know, we ended up the remainder of the project. The three of us were working very closely together, which was wonderful. And some of the images, this is the first sketch, as she calls it. Stayed very close to the final, and some of them she had to do many different until she was happy with the atmosphere and the way it was going. So, you know, each image was different. This is the final one of that. And she loves to create atmospheres and scenes, but she said she was not so comfortable with characters, and she was having trouble inserting the characters. But at a certain point she realised if she drew them much bigger and then digitally, she cut them out and then scanned them and then digitally put them into the scenes, it was working much better. So this is the technique she used for this image and some of the others which feature people. So beautiful. And when she needed a bit of extra inspiration, she would go out, take photos. This is in the old part of Bern in Switzerland where she lives, or where she grew up. She's moving from there now, and that inspired this image here. So it's the book's, since it's been published, it's doing incredibly well. I don't know, Gianni, how many printings in Greek is it now? It's on the second. Ah, great, yeah, and it's and I think it's sold into other languages since, but the co-edition was 9, but I think it's sold into more now. But I need to check with Eric. But it's doing incredibly well, and it received a special mention in the Bologna Ragazzi Awards, which is really, really wonderful. And it's been nominated and won various other prizes. And yeah, it's flying. It had a great review in the New York Times, and it's doing so well. We're really happy for her. And she has other book ideas, but she is an artist that works in a lot of different areas. This up on the left is rugs she weaved with newspaper strips. This is incredible. She'd have this whole exhibition of this. This is a paper cutting for another exhibition. She made all these objects out of animal bones and created new creatures out of that. This on the bottom left actually is a Greek cookbook that she did with a Greek friend of hers and her family. Not published in Greek, it's published in German, I think, isn't it? And it would be nice to have a Greek edition. And this was for a group exhibition in Crete, I think it was. But she does a lot of different things, but she has other book ideas, but has this kind of difficult second book thing where she's done this incredible thing and she doesn't want to follow it. She wants to do something very different, but yeah, so she has ideas. I'm not worried at all that she's not going to go back to the books. And she has this amazing skill also of hand lettering and typography. And she did this in kind of multi-purpose building. They commissioned her to do all the signage and the design and the hand lettering by painting. It's incredible. And it's won this European Design Award. Did this whole building. It's incredible skill she has. Knowing she could do this, we asked her to do the stand graphics for our stand in Bologna this year. And she did this without any pre-planning. She just did perfect. You know, she's really, really incredible. And she was drawing through the week while we had these meetings happening in front of her with the illustrators and the publishers, which was really, the energy was really, really fantastic. And we'll continue this next year. And if any of you wanted to enter, if you have book projects that you'd like to submit, we open next March. We're open for submissions for about 3 months. And we have some Greek illustrators that have entered in the past, but not that many, so it would be really great to have some more. So next March, but if you sign up for the mailing list, then you'll get an email when we're open. So how am I doing for time? Am I okay? Yeah, pretty important, but yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't need the tips, do you? Maybe I should have asked about it. Yeah, stop here, you know, just imagine. So, give us a tip. Yeah. Come and see me afterwards if you want the tip. So this is tips that I picked up over the years from being an illustrator and working with artists and publishers and the feedback. So this is 12 tips that we've put together. Number 1, follow your own voice. Don't follow picture book trends. Number 2, be curious. Stories can be found anywhere and everywhere. Number 3, don't search for a style. If you work with honesty and passion, your own visual language will emerge naturally. At college, we were all talking about styles when we went, and our tutor, Martin Salisbury, was saying he hated this word because it kind of, it's a contrived thing to find a style or to look for a style, but if you work with authenticity, then it's going to emerge on its own. You know, everyone has a different line, everyone has a different signature. You know, it's your visual signature. So, you know, just trust yourself and keep working. Number 4, research the picture book market, but try not to let the development of your work be led by what you think the market might want. Number 5, look to the past. Learning from the artists who came before you can take your work to another level. Number 6, don't draw down to children. Children are smart. Number 7, stay open to surprises. Accidents in the creation process can provide a freshness that's impossible to achieve intentionally. Number 8, try to draw or write every day. On days when this isn't possible, draw with your eyes and write with your ears. Number 9, enter competitions. Illustration competitions are a great way to sharpen your focus and get your work seen by industry professionals. Number 10, have a global perspective. Visit international book fairs like the one in Bologna to discover foreign picture books and make new publishing connections. Number 11, daydream. Give stories the opportunity to find you. And number 12, enjoy the journey, because whatever stage your work is at, making picture books is an amazing thing to do. Thank you very much. Do we have time for questions or not?
This is great.
Thank you.
So much. Are there any questions in the audience?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you believe that the picture book market has now reached the same level as the traditional children's book market?
I think the picture book quality is flying. I'm all about picture books, so it's quite difficult to make a judgment. But a few years ago, there was this concern with apps and iPads that the picture book would die. You know, but actually it had the opposite effect. They became much more beautiful as objects, and you know, they had to compete somehow and became much more relevant. And almost a lot of critics and art historians or children's book historians are saying we're entering a new golden age of picture books and illustration, which may have happened without the threat of the digital, but it's happening.
Picture book now is at par with the traditional children's book.
In terms of sales, or I mean, it's in terms of sales, it's not competing with the Harry Potters, but then you have Julia Donaldson is not just the children's book chart, she's in the top 10 of all books chart, and this is picture books, so it's difficult to make because I'm not really the traditional book side. I'm much more about picture books, but I can tell you that we went from a bit of a dip, and it's really flying. Any other questions? Okay. No, that's good. I covered everything. Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for inviting me.
And for the great speech. We'll continue with the next talk by Valeria in 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.